If you're really searching for the truth, it's a cause and effect. If you're really searching for truth in your heart, you'll find your right teacher.
Michael Green, an old friend from Cleveland, Ohio, on the spiritual path.
Things that the masters can do, we can do also. It's all in the principles. The same God is in them is in us.
Yogananda became his spiritual guide after the Bible.
Christianity gave me my foundation first to go seek spirituality. You can realize God in your lifetime.
And helping Michael realize God in his lifetime, his own personal teacher and former Yogananda student, Roy Eugene Davis. In the 1970s, Michael rode a Greyhound bus from Cleveland to Tallulah, Georgia, to meet Davis for the first time, but he had a problem.
Now, my luggage was lost.
Oh no.
Yeah, my luggage was lost. So, it happened. So, they know what to do. They'll send it to. So, when I got out, I walked up to the meditation temple, and just so happened Roy was there. He said, "Mr. Green?" They said, "Yes." So I went and gave him the biggest hug, and I never forget that. Like I've known him for all my life.
It wasn't until the next morning that Michael caught a second glimpse of Davis.
After meditation, he came out and he had some clothes, and it was his clothes.
Oh my goodness,
So
really?
it was his clothes. So he literally gave me the shirt off his back the first time he see me. So so I said, "This is not my teacher. I don't know who is." So
Well, you said Roy remained Michael's teacher for decades to come in the midst of many awakened souls. Do you, Michael, consider yourself to reach that wonderful, beautiful present point of self-awareness?
I just say I'm in the ocean of life and swimming toward the shore, and I'm helping other people swim toward the shore. So that's my service.
It is a service to others with no end in sight. Welcome to Souljourns and to the story of Michael Green, recorded in Cleveland, Ohio and Coronado, California on April 15th, 2023. Michael Green from Cleveland, Ohio, my hometown, or at least the city I lived in for most of my life, is joining us on Souljourns today. Michael, welcome to Souljourns.
Thank you, Namaste, Ted. It's great to be here. Great to
Namaste
see
to you.
you, man.
It's great to see you, and namaste as well. You've been on a spiritual path as long as I've known you, I'm sure
Yeah.
for more years.
Mm.
Tell us how you got started on this particular spiritual path, and if you were raised in any religion that led to this path.
Yes, I was born. My mom and father raised me Baptist. Try to
Mhm.
make a long story short, and which is really my foundation. A lot of people they look at me now. I'm a minister at a Center for Spiritual Awareness, Kriya Yogi, and they look at me and they said, "Well, how can you?" You Christian, you was a Christian. How, what happened and everything? But I tell them, I said, well, if it wasn't for Christianity gave me my foundation first to go seek spirituality. So I don't see no conflict there. But I was raised up Baptist, and I was just I would go to church. I even would try to sing, which didn't work out too good in the choir. But that's another story. But but long story short, I just started desiring something more, and a good ally of mine, Mr. Ray McLeod, he was seeing that I was struggling, and so one day he handed me a book called Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And once I read that, I said, and I seen the picture of Babaji and all the masters there. I said, man, this clicks with me. And he said, oh, by the way, there's Yogananda has a center called SRF, Self-Realization Fellowship in California. They have lessons. So I said, good. So I'll start taking those lessons. This is back like in the mid 70s or
Okay.
so. Uh-huh. And so I started taking that. And so after a while, he seen my interest. So he gave me a book. Ray gave me a book called This Is Reality by Roy Eugene Davis. And I looked at that and I said, and this book by Yoga Sutras by Roy. And I looked at that and I said, man, this is what I've been looking for. He said, oh, by the way, he runs Center for Spiritual Awareness out in Lake Mont, Georgia. So I started taking lessons from him, and so ever since then I've been with a CSA.
It's
Mhm.
good to hear about this. And of course, here out in California, we're a long stone's throw, about a half an hour drive away from Yogananda's ashram, sitting on
Wow.
a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean, where he
Yeah.
wrote the world famous autobiography of a yogi.
Yeah, I have to make it there. I haven't made it there yet, but that's something I definitely have to do. Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. So
Mhm.
your faith that you were born with served you well. Has the track you've been on now for all these decades, has it answered all of your questions, or are you still finding questions that are still being answered today?
I'm still learning and growing. When I got a chance to meet Roy, I met him before I went to the Air Force. This was like the late '70s, and I hopped on a Greyhound bus and took a Greyhound bus to Lakemont, Georgia, and there in Tallulah Falls, the bus had dropped me off, and because uh, CSA is just right outside Tallulah Falls. So the bus had stopped there, and Roy had a lady named Kathleen Lowe, who was his secretary for many years, came down and she introduced herself, and I introduced myself, and so we got in the car and she drove me down to up to CSA. Now my luggage was lost.
Oh no.
Yeah, my luggage was lost. So, but she said, "Don't worry, it happens." So they know what to do. They'll send it to. So when I finally got to CSA, and I went up to we have a meditation temple there. So when I got out, I walked up to the meditation temple, and just so happened Roy was there, and he turned around. And he said, Michael, because they was expecting me. He said, Mr. Green? They said, yes. So I went and gave him the biggest hug, and I never forget that. Like I've known him for all my life. And he said, welcome to CSA. And he said, you from Cleveland? I said, yes. And so we exchanged some pleasantries, and then I told him, I said, well, my luggage is lost. He said, well, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Just come down to meditation. Everything be taken care of. So the next day when I went down to meditation, and after meditation, he came out and he had some clothes, and it was his clothes.
Oh my goodness,
So
really?
it was his clothes. He
That
literally gave me the shirt, and I said, "Boy, this must be the place." So, and everything fitted me well. So it's just like boom, So he literally gave me the shirt off his back the first time he see me. So, so I said, "This is not my teacher. I don't know who he is." So,
well, you said something key,
mhm.
very, very key, I think, because I relate to it as well. When you first met Roy Eugene Davis and he turned around and he called you by your name and he said, "Welcome home." It really is a welcoming home, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it's a blessing to be able to meet a spiritual powerhouse like Roy, and at this day and time at that time. So yeah, I was immensely blessed. A lot of people they search for teachers, and they run into all kind of false prophets and everything like that. But I was blessed to run right into Roy. Mm-hmm.
It's not just a knowing that this makes sense, this sounds correct. It's a
Mm-hmm.
feeling. For me, it's a visceral feeling where I can feel myself
Right.
sort of change for the better.
Yes. And your motive means a whole lot. If you're really searching for the truth, it's a cause and effect. If you're really searching for truth in your heart, you'll find your right teacher. And that's huge. That's why I tell people, just have the right motives, and have and the laws of consciousness, the laws of life will lead you to your whatever you need to have that fulfillment.
Well, tell me more about Roy Eugene Davis because I have some pictures of him uh,
Okay.
from a biography website showing him Paramahansa Yogananda. Uh,
Okay.
that goes back a good number of years. And
He will always tell us that you can you can make you can make it in this lifetime as far as God realization, and have practical spirituality, and meditate every day, and if you fall down, get right back up, and it's so he was right there with us every step of the way. He always answered our questions, And like I say, and if he needed to give us a push or a boot in the butt, he would do that. So he wasn't playing, but he did it out of love. So that was Roy. That was Roy. Mhm.
Well, you said it very well. In fact, I've never heard anybody say this before. He was as strong as thunder. And
Mhm.
that's a strong personality, but he was a man of strong convictions. He knew what he believed in.
Right, 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 right. And like you said, plus him being with Yogananda, he picked up those traits from Yogananda also.
Yeah,
He because he was just so attuned with them and everything. So yes, yes,
yeah.
just like Yogananda, yes.
Well, how's it changed your life?
You know, uh, uh, there was a gentleman a couple of weeks back. I hand out truth journals because I do meditation classes here in Cleveland, and also hand out truth journals to the different coffee shops and everything. And so this one gentleman who was working behind the counter, long story short, he read the truth journal and he kind of looked at me and he said, "You have Pollyanna thinking, wishful thinking, But he said it in a kind way, but and he said, I said, no, I said, I'm a yogi. I'm very optimistic, and I, and so he said, oh, okay. Then he got real quiet and he started reminiscing that he used to go to a Buddhist temple here in Cleveland
Hmm.
years ago and everything. So he said, well, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna start getting back into Buddhism and checking that out. But at the same time, as I was driving back home, he and to answer your question, me being obviously a black man in the United States, and so many things are happening. And I tell people, I said, if it wasn't for Roy and CSA and the teachings there, I knew I probably wouldn't be here. I'll be turning 65 in August. And many times I went to CSA with a lot of things on my mind, a lot of spiritual questions, but being there to be in that atmosphere, it's a spiritual atmosphere, quiet, serene, and you really feel the presence of God there. Time to kind of get your spiritual self in tune, and come out, and you have a feeling that there's a spiritual power there that works and prevails in your life if you just, like Roy would say, just keep practicing it and keep sticking with it.
Well,
And if
you
you,
have that. You have
yeah,
that
mm,
tremendously because
mm,
you're a walking example of serenity.
mm.
People don't have to know your history. They don't have to know the spiritual path you're on. I think they learn from your own presence, as you've probably seen in people around you, not just Roy, but other members of that organization that I assume you continue to belong to that. Is that true?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. You see people and you see the transformation if you just stick with it. Like Roy said, like Roy would tell us, if the things that the masters can do, we can do also. It's all in the principles. The same God is in them is in us.
Does the learning curve that you've been on, and I think about this myself, it reaches a point where people feel like they've learned everything that they're supposed to learn. But my guess is that the path that you're on, and the path that I relate to most in my life at this point, you never learn everything. There's always something more to learn.
Exactly, exactly. The main thing is, like I said, is full God realization. And once you do that, that's it. That's you've done it all. And the main thing, and that's the main practice, is just realizing God in our lifetime. And of course, you have the moral values too. Spiritual awareness plus the moral values, which we really need as a foundation nowadays, because we done stray so far away from that. But that's the main thing. You can realize God in your lifetime. Just like Roy would say, people have three questions throughout the life. What is God? What am I? And what's my purpose in life?
Yeah.
Right. So right. So and we can realize that through our study and our practice. Matter of fact, it's all within us. We just have to be able to see it and accept it and learn how to express it.
Well, Michael, you're talking about the very question that was at the top of the pile for me to talk about with you, because
Mm,
you've said maybe 3 or 4 times in the last minute and a half about self-realization.
mm,
According to his biography, Roy's message, his primary message, his very main central point was that true self-realization is possible and within the reach of everyone
mm.
in this lifetime. So
Right.
it leads me to ask, you must have dozens of friends and close associates who have been part of his organization and his spiritual path. Are you aware of many other people now that the teacher has left us,
Mm.
who are also self-realized?
Well, as far as with everybody with their spirituality, I just kind of I just stick with what I do, and just let other people just bear their fruits. You know what I'm saying? And by their fruits did you know them? But I know most of everybody that I work with, they're still spiritually dedicated. They're still in tune with the guru, and they still keep on keeping on. So yeah,
Just as
you
we
know,
are,
so
on keeping on.
yeah, yeah, right, right. So
You don't have to answer the next question. It
mm,
can be sensitive. You're a
mm.
long-term follower of both Roy Eugene Davis and Paramahansa Yogananda. Do you, Michael, consider yourself to reach that wonderful, beautiful present point of self-awareness?
I just say I'm in the ocean of life and swimming toward the shore, and I'm helping other people swim toward the shore. Of, so that's my service. Hmm.
I would guess that there's plenty of self-realized people in that ocean swimming towards the shore so that others can see their example. So that's a great answer you just gave, I think.
I definitely enjoy the service, and like I say, it helps make me grow too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Your charm, your intelligence, your serenity,
Hmm.
your absence of ego, your humbleness. You've all these traits are like magnets, in my opinion, that draw others towards you. So I want to know, I guess, what it feels like to be the Michael Green you are today versus a decade ago, 4 decades ago. Can you
Yeah,
look back over your life and say that you would have traded away any one experience for where you are today, or are you quite happy with where you are today?
well, if it wasn't for those experiences, I wouldn't be here today. It's only revealed to me what I felt years ago. You know what I'm saying? I knew because, like I said, Ted, we was in the turbulent '60s, Vietnam War, the hippie movement, AIDS, and in the black neighborhood we have the crack and so on. I just knew at the center of my being there was just something more to life, and there was something greater than what was happening. And plus, during that time, it was a time of self-discovery. We had Dick Gregory. He was out. He was talking about eating well and different things like that. And plus, like I said, the gurus were out. The Maharishi Yogi and different things like that. So it was a time that was like a current of awakening during that time. So there was different things that was kind of like, pushed me towards saying, yeah, there's something more to life than that was going on. And like I said, the yogis was coming out. So and like I said, I'm just glad that everything to happen the way it did because it just made me the person I am today.
That's well said. Thank you for
Mhm,
that answer.
mhm,
The organization, I want to make sure I have this right, that Roy Eugene Davis started after Yogananda left his bodily, his worldly form, is
mhm.
called the Center for Spiritual Awareness. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Mhm.
And is that still open and accepting people? Because I'm thinking about people who might be watching this who want to know more about it. Are they still accepting newcomers?
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. We still have our programs. We still on online. We have online meditations. Matter of fact, it's a great segue to we have because we have truth journals that come out.
It's called Truth Journal, I
Yeah,
see.
the truth journal, yes, and it has Roy's teachings in it, and also recipes and different affirmations. But in this one is the potential is within you. What Clifford, he's the director and he's the president of CSA now. Him and the staff, what they've done, if they've taken the potential within you was a study course that Roy written 30 years ago. So what they've done is they put everything back together, and they have CDs in the study course, and they bring it back out. So with people who want to have our full philosophy, but it's in a structured way. Instead of buying a bunch of books, you can just buy this course, and everything's in a structured way about our teachings and how to actualize it. So they bring this back, and it's called the potential is within you. And matter of fact, some of the ministers there are going to teach they learn how to teach like a 6 and 8 week course in this. But it's very excellent for anybody who want to just get started in it.
You mentioned so many people a couple of minutes ago who were responsible for reshaping you and re-energizing you in a spiritual sense.
Mm.
But you omitted Ray McLeod. He's the first one who pointed you in the right direction, wasn't he?
Yes, yes. I like to give credit where credit was due. He seen because I mean, I was out there, I was going to different churches, I was doing this, doing that, and like I said, he already knew Roy. It's something how God sends people in your lives when you really need them. So.
I'd like to know, Michael, if you would describe for the benefit of others, as well as myself, what a spiritual day is for you, something about your own spiritual practice, and
Mhm.
has it changed over the years, if it's not too personal?
Oh no, no. The main thing is, and just like what Roy would tell us to do, is just meditation. If nothing else, spend some quiet time to meditate, because meditation is the foundation. As like they said, meditation is really the greatest technique, because it keeps you in tune and makes you aware of your true nature and the true nature of every. And plus two, it gives you learn how to mastery over your mind, your emotions, and your body also, which a lot of people don't understand. It gives you that control and that mastery that everybody needs, especially nowadays with so much going on. But being in tune with the infinite, grounding you in the infinite, is so important.
Where do you put the emphasis when you deal with your students when it comes to learning how to meditate?
The main thing is God and self-realization. You're gonna have the health benefits. You're gonna relieve stress. You're going to, your blood pressure is going to, go down, and different other amazing benefits. But the main thing we emphasize is self and God realization. Having that intent is very important throughout your spiritual practice. That will take you all the way. Because sometimes people get into spiritual practices, and they don't go all the way because they don't have that intention. But if you practice for the purpose of self realization, self liberation, with that intention, it can take you all the way. Mm.
Roy took you and other students and other followers of his to India, to the
Yes, yes.
temple of Yogananda. What was that like?
Man, I mean, it's just, when I first, try to make a long story short, when I first opened up autobiography of a yogi, and I seen Babaji and the rest of the masters, I said, man, I love to go to India one day. And so, and sure enough, through the grace of God, and because I was working at the post office at the time, things opened up for me to go to India.
Really?
And it was, yes, yes. So we went to India in 91, 97, and '02. We went
Oh,
three
you went 3 times.
three times. Yeah, yeah. And it was a pilgrimage. You know, where our masters stayed, like Rishikesh, Nainital, uh,
Mhm.
uh, where Yogeshwar, his place, Yogananda, his home. Down the Holy River. So it was just a pilgrimage.
What did it feel like for you to be in his own home?
Oh man, it was oof. Yeah. I They're in his home, and Yogananda's home, and and I got a chance to meditate where Yogananda meditated, and that was very special for me.
Wow.
That was, yeah, and it was just beyond words. Plus, it was a dream come true. And it just further cemented me into this way and this pathway and way of life. And plus, when you have those experiences, it strengthens your faith. It strengthens your faith. It's not just a bunch of intellectual, mystical kind of stuff, and everything. It's like, wow, this is real. This is real, and I can experience it.
And then, while they were still in India, Roy Eugene Davis took Michael and the others to see Sai Baba.
And also too with Sai Baba. I mean, my God,
So what possessed Roy to even take the group to Puttaparthi, which is in southern state in India, Andhra Pradesh? What possessed him to take you there?
Well, he had already seen Sai Baba earlier, because I remember one of his earlier books. I think it was Time, Space, and Circumstance. One of his earlier books. He had visited Sai Baba. He had heard about Sai Baba. He had visited him, and so he had a one-on-one meeting with him.
Well,
And so yeah, and so Sai Baba materialized a ring for him, and had his Sai Baba's picture there, and had diamonds around it, and so on and so forth. A gold ring for him, and every once in a while, Roy would bring it out and show it to us there at the CSA, and boy, he would show it to us, but he would hang on to it, because we would kind of come at it like, he'd be, oh, no, 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 you don't.
he reminded us whenever people would bring up his materializations of vibhuti or rings or all sorts of items for people. Said, I give you tinsel, trinkets, and trash. You'll come for what I really have to give you.
Exactly. Liberation. Exactly. Right. The materialization just was his calling card.
Yeah, it was his calling card. It was
his calling card.
It was candy.
Yeah.
So glad we got to weave in these teachers, these gurus as well. And one of the closing in on the final questions that I have for you is a lot of Sai Baba's teachings were very reminiscent, were the same as another noted Indian teacher who died in 1950, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, Sri Ramana Maharshi. Are you familiar with his primary teaching called self-inquiry, and was answering the question of who am I?
Yes. Matter of fact, Roy took us to his ashram there.
You did.
Yes. And the mountain there. I don't want
Arunachala.
Arunachala. Yes, we went there, and I mean that was such a blessing. Matter of fact, long story short, after I walked that mountain, and came back down, I did have an expansive.
Did you?
Yeah, and it's like I remember, all I remember is walking down and walking back to the place, and I remember walking, and we got back on the bus, and I still had that expansive feel. But next thing you know, I kind of rubbed my feet and twiddled my toes, but I had forgot about my shoes. I left everything back at the.
I would say an experience.
Yeah, it was an experience. So it's like, oh man, I left everything there. But that was such a blessing. But yes, Roy took us there, and it was.
Our love and thanks to the people of CSA who have helped mold you, Michael, into the person you are today.
Yeah.
Thank you again for agreeing for this interview, and keep it up. We admire you from afar and close. If we get back to Cleveland, we'd love to see you again.
Yeah, we get back together, man. I love you both too, and like I said, I know you're gonna keep on keeping on, and you're a bright light, and you enjoy our benevolent presence here. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye. Namaste.
Saram. Namaste.
Saram. Saram. Saram.